In the games that you play, what are some homebrew rules that you love to implement? Now, why do you use them? Is it because the game is lacking something but you don't want to play another game? No surprises here. Well, another reason this might be is because, in my opinion, there are two things that no one can agree on how the best way to do them is. Now don't get me wrong, you'll see plenty of people on YouTube saying, I finally fixed these things, pog pog pog, but they're probably doing that to get you to click the video. So, in today's video, let's cover the most polarizing concept in our tabletop games: travel and crafting. First up, what do we mean by traveling? From one space to another? From one scene to another? When you don't dribble the ball before landing a sick slam dunk on that nerd Vecna? Well, we're usually referring to going from one location to another faraway location, and asking ourselves, what do we do in the meantime? How do we get there? Some games will lay out the speech for traveling, and then leave it at that, while other games pack their rulebooks full of super cool encounters to run. But I picked travel as one of the most polarizing things because... what do you do? Because I guarantee it's not going to be the same as most people. If you boil it down, there are basically three schools of thought. People who really care about travel and systemize it to a T. People who really don't and don't even consider detailing it, and those that are somewhere in the middle. And people have very strong opinions on what travel should be. I've already covered what I think and ways to make it better in this video, but for me, I think travel should be used as another avenue for stories. So, I do have travel to some degree. Does that mean I have tables full of encounters considering each biome and the level of the players, and I have the players choose their role to take in the travel sequence, and I track each individual usage of rations and... nah. But that also doesn't mean that I think that you should, or even shouldn't, skip travel altogether. Travel for some is just a gap between their interestingly laid out plot, and just need the players to get to where their interesting bits are, because traveling really isn't interesting to them. And that's fine. I share a similar and controversial opinion regarding dungeon crawls, where there's an entry in a game book telling GMs on how to run a dungeon. And one of the types of rooms that they detail that you can use is an empty room. Why waste the player's time including a nothing piece of content? So, if you don't find travel interesting, or there's just nothing interesting between the settlements to impact the story, then just skip it. But the problem with all of this regarding travel, discussions, arguments on how it should go is I don't really use rules-heavy, intensive travel stuff, and I'm fine if you don't even travel at all. But there are some that really do want travel, so how do you write rules in a new game or a game that exists, whatever, if no one can agree how it should go? I mean, another problem is that I think travel is just another avenue to tell story. But how do you put that in a rule book as a rule? Because I, in my game, might be running a story where the players have to uncover the deeds of an evil king and flee to another land with the info while being pursued, and on the way the players might need to fight or hide through roadblocks set by bounty hunters that have been hired by the king, but what if you're not running that adventure? And this is why people turn to random encounters, but I have really mixed feelings about random encounters. I think books that include big lists of them should be celebrated because it provides a lot of inspiration for GMs to create their own encounters. But be careful if you use them right out of the book, or it can make travel feel like entering another dimension entirely, full of just baffling, out-of-place stuff. And besides traveling, we have crafting. And isn't it funny that the most polarizing topics that I'm talking about are the ones with the most homebrew online? Almost like everyone has their own preferences that cannot be fulfilled with one product and one game forever and ever 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 and ever. In D&D, crafting items is either entirely freeform or laid out in a bit more detail in Xanathar's. And crafting magic items is really something that I just don't vibe with in my games, especially when the system in place is basically just, if you have a shit ton of time and a shit ton of money, then eventually you'll have a magic item. A lot of people online have worked to different degrees of maddening detail to try and make crafting something more than just melting down a dragon horde's worth of gold into a magic sword. For example, you could go the Fallout RPG or the Land of Eam RPG route, where there is a massive comprehensive item list and you can craft with these highly specific items. But while it might feel more robust to have specific lists of items or more systemized approaches to crafting, For me, it's just such a chore. I think people jump at the idea of making a detailed crafting system without considering what it would be like to manually detail every single individual specific item and its weight and its use and its color and its... I think it stems from playing RPGs like Skyrim, Fallout, and many others that store and remember what is in your bag for you, and when you use a workbench, it has the text to show the item as highlighted for when you can actually make the item. But now imagine you have none of the quality of life stuff given by a video game managing your inventory for you, and you have to read through a massive minor item list on your sheet whenever you want to craft. It becomes tabletop admin of a super strenuous kind. I'm not a fan of this so much that in my games that I'm making, the materials used to craft and to make magical stuff are just called materials and reagents. In your inventory, you'll make note of materials and how many uses of your materials, and when you want to craft something, you'll use your materials. But if an item is particularly special, then you have to go out into the world to find that item. So instead of admin and sitting around, you're being active and going out to get the phoenix feather or the giant scrotum. And while crafting in these sort of RPGs can be a chore because of all the different items and the meticulous nature of it, that's not mentioning the other thing that I just really don't like about crafting in these games, and that is massive wait times. Here's the thing. Downtime is a thing that people use. And when I say downtime, I don't mean spending like half a session being a shopping episode or going to a festival for downtime to relax. I mean months or even years of in-game time passing, leaving the characters to just fart around, do their taxes, I don't know. Some groups really like it because I'm aware of what downtime can be used for. There's no need to educate me in the comments, I'm aware, but I much prefer action to get the items rather than just sitting for months making the items. Which you can probably tell by the fact that there's no admin or even mention of massive wait times in my preferred crafting system. Instead, it's only considering super special required items that you have to spend your time adventuring for, playing the game for. But I'm aware even that isn't to everyone's taste. Some people love the meticulous and time-consuming nature of crafting, so let me know. How do you handle travel and crafting in the comments down below? And if you haven't seen my video about travel, then click the video on screen. I love you all, and I'll see you next time.